So, like my dissertation project is in the IT industry and immigrant labor. So this paper I'm going to present is actually a side project started in my first year. And yeah, and thanks to Hillary, and we finally get to finalize it. The title here, I'm in the center of the vortex. It was actually coming from an interview I had with a trolling victim. That is her own statement about how she felt when she found herself caught up in trolling. As it indicates, this paper is about to focus on the stories of people who found themselves victimized in trolling. So I think everybody, whoever started with trolling will have this very simple question. So what is trolling? This is a very tricky question. Just like Evita mentioned, trolling means so many different things nowadays, while more behaviors are identified as trolling. The item on Urban Dictionary show trolling is an action that deliberately, cleverly, and secretly pissing people off. This famous illustration on the right here accurately depicted the sense of deceivingness and sophistication. So they differentiate trolling with other forms of behaviors like cyberbullying, but it is undeniable they are related somehow. On the other hand, this simple description does not really pin down how trolling is being defined nowadays, when there are new behaviors are labeled with trolling. And this table here, this is a generalization of how the main academic works in a broad field of information studies by the year of 2017, identify the characteristics of trolling. So I circle out the most shared characteristics in these pieces. It has, as a behavior, it is deceptive, provoking, off-topic communication, and disruptive. And the intentions of trolling include self-amusement, or to trigger some kind of reaction or conflicts, and to disrupt the communication deliberately. And trolling can happen in many different online spaces. As everyone can hear me, I think I got frozen here.
No, fine, I can hear you.
Oh, thank you, because my internet is not very stable today. I'm sorry.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I don't know how to show it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is how trolling is for now is described in academic works. So it is a manipulative and deceptive nature, and it has disruption and aggression, and is usually placed in a discussion of technological affordances, like how the social media environment, technologically speaking, support the phenomenon like trolling. And there are special forms of trolling also discussed. Like there are some weird types of trolling, like people only typing LL in every piece of message and to cover a topic. Like this is not direct answer topic, but it is not mean to harm or mean to send hostility anyway, but it's still somehow labeled as trolling. So we can see from all those previous studies that the meaning of trolling has been identified from various angles. Okay. So based on this acknowledgement, the question we need to ask here is what is missing from current understanding of trolling? Or as it has been defined from so many different angles, which angle has not been addressed in previous studies? So previous studies focused mostly on the trolls, discussing their motivations, intentions, and of course, psychological states, and trolling as an abstract phenomenon. such as discussing the online environment that enables trolling incidents. And there is like actually little information about how trolling specifically impacts individual users, especially those people feel themselves victimized. In other words, it remains unknown if trolling behaviors are equivalent, like as they were described in previous research we just saw, are actually equivalent with how they're perceived by the users who got trolled. In the majority of works that mention trolled users, the victims' experiences were just roughly described. And this kind of description only served as a coordinate to find the suitable case of trolling for empirical investigation. Especially the victims of trolling experience is not the subject. So if we know people complain, there is like trolling happen and people feel bad about it, there is like basically send out a signal for a lot of researchers to feel, okay, we can find good case here. But it was never the real direct subject. This was a quote, and it came from an academic article by Ellen Campbell, who documented her own experience of being trolled when she was writing an autoethnography on Twitter in 2017. Her self-documentation was I think for now the only piece that directly wrote about the victim's feelings in detail, like capture every feeling she had. And she was dragged from her own, in her own word, like her own niche of self-expression, the niche space of writing autoethnography, into unwanted public view, and made a focus through the comments, retweets, or merely just clicks. It did not really matter in that case. It did not that matter much whether those attention was like hostile or not. The problem was that the attention accumulated around her post and could just like stick to her. So this example shows like how an individual who is caught up in the center of trolling becomes the focus of the expressed emotions, like emotions from like numerous, like millions of internet users. So from this example, we can primarily sense that how victims experience trolling could be very different from how trolling is described from the ever increasing list of behavioral traits. If trolling is a vague concept that ought to be defined from different angles, and then the absence of victim's voice, in fact, limits how trolling can be understood. Therefore, the goal of this study is to map trolling victims' experience and to provide a new perspective to understand trolling. So we did a series of semi-structured interviews in 2018 and 19. This whole paper was built up on those interviews. I recruited 19 people who had experienced trolling and were willing to talk about it. In the initial recruitment, it was sent, the message was sent on my personal social media accounts. It's kind of like the goal of doing that is to encourage people to talk about their experience of trolling. But I did not specify that you have to being trolled, is including you trolling others, being trolled, and other forms of involvement. But the outcome is people who contact me for interview were mostly victims. And the reason for choosing my own social media as a starting point of like snowballing is because I was thinking the trolling experience sometimes could be embarrassing, or just like they may not feel very comfortable talking about very personal and traumatized experience. So I choose those who kind of have like a feel the connection like on my personal account online. So it was kind of already started from a semi-personal connection. That this is like easier for me to build up the rapport with interviewees for this interview. And these interviews were conducted in a narrative-oriented manner. We encourage the interviewees to start their own story. Then we follow up with questions alongside the interviewee's narrative, just to arrange the questions to reflect on their own storytelling. And the interviewees can choose their own medium when they feel comfortable with. The interesting thing is most of them choose instant communication tools. It's like they do not really want to expand the connection they had with me into too many face-to-face or like phone call. Like we met online, we communicated through texts, and that's it. I don't want to hear your voice. Yeah, this is a very interesting phenomenon. And because it's a lot of interviews happened in instant communication tools, so it provides a space for them to provide multimedia materials, not only texts, their own description, sometimes also the link and the screenshots that can help me to kind of recreate what happened in the trolling. So there are four major components we extracted from the stories shared by those interviewees. So first is how trolling is becoming trolling for them. This is a process we call escalation. So there are on the left side, I provide some quotes from the interviewee, so you guys can have a very direct impression of what they talk about. So the escalation was like how trolling has become into trolling we know about from sometimes a very minor, very insignificant incident, a conflict online. So I can give an example here. There's an interviewee, Lao, and she was caught in the crossfire of two fan clubs. And she herself, according to her, posted a not very friendly, but a very short, like a comment about the other fan club. So that is not very outstanding. That is basically what everybody did in this kind of like fan club, like come and go. But somehow, randomly, or for the reason she actually never knew, this post has become a target. And she did not know that. She went to bed, and that morning she woke up, and her post got screwed. It's like there are like 100,000 of comments, retweets, clicks, and all screenshots spread it in the social media in her small circle and the larger circle of the fan clubs. So she became famous overnight. So this all happened in a few hours. And when she became the target, people went to her personal page and basically just took a glance of her timeline or her previous posts. So her personal life, some of the posts were not even related to privacy issues, like the thing you just talk about your like everyday life randomly, not write about your SSN number or credit card number, not anything like that. But this still got dug up and put under spotlight and become the materials everybody's talking about. And then she talked to me, that whole feeling, she felt like she was in the center of the vortex. So that is a very, very good example of how trolling has become trolling from a very small thing. So as long as the attention on the internet got into one individual, it is almost inevitable for them to feel violated somehow. Not to mention, among those attention, there are some hostile ones. So all those things together create a pressure on one individual and hurl his life online, which is not supposed to draw so many attention, to put under investigation thoroughly. So what she had done to stop this circus show is to delete the post, but it was way too late because the thing has already spread it online. It got paraphrased, it got screenshot, it was even removed, moved from this original social media platform to another one. So she was basically like, this post has become a thing that stick to her all the time. So her strategy to delete the post and to basically get away from social media is called by some of the interviewees called social media silence. So the thing is, if you want to remain social media silence, you lie low when there's attention stick to you. And in Chinese media, this kind of attention is always called heat. Like heat is like the fuel that fuels like the fuel for the engine of trolling. It's not only for the trolling. Most of the social media, the internet engagement actually requires a lot of heat to function. And the social media, the social media space, the entire online space nowadays, is actually trying to transform itself into a more suitable form for the heat to transmit, to circulate, to go to the place where people want it to go. So if we use a metaphor, like if we say like internet space is like an ecological system, the heat is most, I think is basically the most profitable number one resource someone wants to harness to profit or for other purposes. So the thing is, if the heat has stuck to you, it is nearly impossible to get rid of it in a very short time. So one choice is you get rid of it before the heat actually hit you. It remains some kind of like a quick reaction. You delete the thing and you just like maybe delete a few things that may direct other people's attention on you, and you do the precaution. Or like Lao's case, if the thing already happened, there you had no choice but to let the heat remove from you, find some new target to stick to. But until then, you have to stay silent and wait until it's gone. So we're talking about the heat can stick to you. But the thing is, heat actually can be removed to other places. That is basically the hope for a lot of victims to get rid of the trolling experience. But in Lau's case, and actually in some other interviewees' case, heat sticks with you. So it does not mean heat remains on your account or your post all the time, unless you're a celebrity or somehow. But for common users, it comes and goes. But the stickiness a lot of the trolling victims experienced is because it's unpredictable. You will never know when it comes, when it goes, and when it will come back again on you. So for Lao's experience, like she actually experienced another harassing message about the trolling 5-6 years ago. Like that was actually happened 2 months after the first interview. So that was in the year of 2018. And there was still a message sent to her about the trolling happened in 2013. That was an extremely long time, and it's usually unforeseeable. And she has no idea how someone still pay attention to that very ancient message circulating online. So this kind of unpredictable stickiness for her is that she can never let her guard down even for a moment. She became skeptical about a lot of other things happening online, like in the quote, like she experienced another another problem, and there's a quote. Oh, sorry, there's a second quote. I think it's not here, but well, she experienced another like hacking incidents, but she did not. She has no idea if that is related to the trolling a few years ago, or this is a totally independent incident. But the result is she could never ever take any risk to expose her again online. So this thickness creates the pressure because it's unpredictable. So almost all the victims I interviewed in this study feel somehow like violated, like in trolling. So the violators they feel their personal space, like get a lot of, you can tell it's attention, but it creates a lot of pressure. So it makes their private space was put under spotlight for people to look. So the thing is, even in different types of trolling, I mean, some trolling just like comment is neutral, or it is even could be friendly, some are hostile, but it doesn't matter in terms of creating the pressure. However, when I was interviewing a person who actually had trolled people before, and she told me there are actually hierarchy of different types of trolling. Using private message to attack someone is the dirtiest, most disgusting, the lowest form of trolling, because that was a direct, blunt violation of personal space. So here comes a very interesting thing. Like we're all talking about like how we can keep our privacy, how we keep our personal space like remain personal. But the thing is, there is no clear-cut line in the online space between the public and the personal. But we all have a kind of this like sensation that there is a space online. I can be myself. It's a free niche for my self-expression. But this very fragile boundary between the public space, like in a few decades ago, people call it information highway, and your personal space, like this is my blog, this is my social media, I tell my life here. There's no clear-cut line between this, and this boundary is very fragile. And trolling, it creates a sense of violation because it basically tore apart this very fragile and very shallow veil, like just with very easy steps. But still, in the people in the trolls I interviewed, they still think like messaging someone, private message someone, it basically just directly tore apart this veil. It's like basically it's a direct violation. It does not include any randomness, or like I didn't try to do any harm. I just like do something, but I didn't know it caused some like consequences. It just directly harm. So this is considered as the lowest form, the most disgusting form of trolling. So the thing is, for single users who use social media, blogs, and other online space to create contents, the personal space they feel in social media is placed at the juncture between some kind of like semi-private self-expression and the highway of circulation of like user-generated contents. The former space is expected to be somehow intimate, personalized space, while the latter is designed for seamlessly connectable contents. But private messaging with hostile text, like we talked before, basically it like tore apart this veil, but it does not it does not deny the fact that this line between private and public does not actually exist. So the personal space we experience online is actually, it is not individual, it's not totally personal. It is an intersubjective space. The personal space hardly personal or under fully control of the individual. This intersubjective space, in fact, is not intended for the high-speed sharing of social media communication, but it is when space is intruded upon, the victims are mostly strongly affected by trolling. This illustration here show how trolling happens across different layers of this intersubjective space. It escalated from somehow some post in public space, and then through a series of mediation, the heat, through the circulation of the heat, the come and go of the attention, then eventually intrudes this seemingly private personal space of the victims. So this is how the users feel they were victimized in trolling. Yeah, that is all I have. Thank you.